So as I mentioned before on this channel, I'm among those people who watch the Harry Potter movies before reading the books. And when I finally got around to reading the books, I was very surprised to find that my least favorite of the movies was my favorite book. So today I want to talk about why Order of the Phoenix, despite its faults, is honestly my favorite of the books. I'm going to give a brief summary of the book. If you already know the story and you want to just skip past it, just skip to the next part, that's perfectly fine. Timecode is right here. But for those who want a recap of the book, here we are. We open with Harry on a hot summer's day, thinking about the events of last summer, and how Cedric Diggory died, and how Voldemort has come back. And he runs into his cousin, Vernon Dursley, and you get to see a moment of them acting like cousins. It's a strange moment. Suddenly, they get attacked by Dementors, and Dementors are these creatures who can suck joy out of your life along with your soul, and Harry has to fight them off. The only problem is, he had to do magic to do that. And now the Ministry, who is, ever since he claimed that Voldemort came back, is trying to disprove him, is now going to expel him from Hogwarts. He learns about the secret order called the Order of the Phoenix, run by Albus Dumbledore, and they help him not get expelled. Then he spends the rest of the summer at their headquarters at his godfather's house, Sirius Black, before then heading off to school. At school, he figures out the new Defense Against the Dark Art teacher is a ministry worker named Dolores Umbridge, who is the worst character in the whole series practically, even worse than Voldemort sometimes. So we follow as she slowly takes over the school, and he's getting these detentions from her that's she's causing him to write "I must not tell lies" in his own blood and all this terrible stuff is happening. And she's slowly, because the Ministry is trying to take away all of Dumbledore's powers, they're slowly giving him more and more control over the school until finally she's able to throw him out, basically, after figuring out about the secret organization that Harry started called the Dumbledore's Army, which he is training his other fellow students how to actually fight. Because in Defense Against the Dark Arts, they're not actually learning anything because she's refusing to teach them any actual spells. Meanwhile, Harry's also having visions about Voldemort from the eyes of Voldemort. He sees Nagini attack Arthur Weasley, and he's in critical condition because of that. He's seen from the mind of Voldemort that he really wants to get into this room in the Ministry of Magic called the Hall of Prophecies. And eventually, he gets this vision from Voldemort torturing Sirius Black, and he summons some of his friends, and they all go to the Ministry to save Sirius. Only realized it was actually a trap, and that they needed Harry to go there to collect this prophecy that talks about him and Lord Voldemort. And they almost get the prophecy, but in the end it breaks. But during that, Bellatrix Strange, who had escaped from Azkaban, kills her cousin, Sirius Black. Voldemort shows up and fights Dumbledore, and at that moment, the Ministry of Magic sees Voldemort and knows that Harry and Dumbledore weren't lying when they said he was back. Dumbledore takes Harry back to his office, and that's when Dumbledore finally tells him the prophecy that has been shaping his whole life. Prophecy about how one day either Voldemort will have to kill Harry or Harry will have to kill Voldemort. So that's a brief summary of the book. Now onto my own thoughts. Starting with a little bit of a nitpick, but I wanted to make sure to bring this up because when I first read the book, it stood out to me like, this is annoying. I first read the books when I was 16, and it's a 16-year-old boy. The moment in the book where Hermione and Ron are arguing, and Hermione heading up the stairs to the ladies' common room, and Ron tries to follow her, and he finds that he can't go up the stairs, and it just turns into a slide and slides him down. And Hermione explains that it's because no guys are allowed in the women's dormitories. Makes perfect sense. All fine with that. Problem is, then they're like, okay, hold on, but why are you allowed in the boys' dormitories? And she explains that, well, it's because girls are more trustworthy. And even this last time reading it, I was kind of like, okay, that moment wouldn't have been that bad. The problem that makes it bad is the fact that they made sure to emphasize, but that doesn't apply to women. The women can go into the men's dormitories all they want, but just the other way around. I'm like, I have 6 sisters. Most of my friends are female, so I get that they have problems that I don't when that comes to stuff, and I don't want to talk too much about this, but in the same way, it does come off a little bit like, okay, really? The double standard? And like, it would have been fine if they just left it at guys are not allowed in the girls' dormitory, because honestly, I wouldn't even notice. But the problem is, I didn't notice because they made sure to point out the fact that women are allowed in the men's dormitory. The next one is the fact that why was Nagini at the Ministry in the first place? When she attacked Arthur, he was guarding Department of Mysteries. But why was Nagini there in the first place? No one, no one addresses that. Was Nagini there trying to maybe steal the prophecy, seeing if she could take it? Or I don't know. But she was there, and she attacked him. But it was like kind of like a moment I'm like, suddenly realized, why would he risk having his snake go there? The next problem is, in this book you figure out that there are these horses called Thestrals who are at the grounds of Hogwarts, and the ones who pull the carriages. You can only see them if you have seen death, and so thus, that's why Harry can now see them. The only problem is at the end of the book, multiple people who can't see them rides them. And J.K. Rowling somewhat addresses by saying that, it was the most uncomfortable feeling for them ever, because it's like, okay, at that point, it would have been better if they just had them on brooms, because how were they able to ride them? It's like, it never fully addressed how they were able to pick them, get on them and stay on when they couldn't see anything. Could they feel things? Like, how does it work? Like, it was just a weird moment. I'm like, okay. The next question is, why was the Ministry so relaxed when it came to security? Harry shows up, Harry, who the Ministry hates right now, shows up, goes into the elevator, and all his friends are there, and the Ministry's voice message thing just says okay, what's your name? What are you here for? And they're like, we are here to save someone when you go to the Department of Mysteries. And the person said was, okay, take your name tags and you're good. Huh? Really? The Department of Mysteries? Just Harry Potter, who's known for right now them trying to take down, it's allowed to just walk in no problem, yeah, you're good. Okay, just go down there huh? The next one is that the order took so long to get there. There's so much time spent of them exploring new rooms, doing stuff like that. This just okay. At that point, the order would have probably shown up to really take. Yes, they kind of explained it by Snape was not as quick to immediately go and tell everyone, but in the same way, he did tell them pretty soon, and they would have tried to get there as fast as they can. Not waiting a couple hours practically. I mean, it's okay. Then we have the fact that Voldemort showed up in the first place at the Ministry. He was growing stronger because the Ministry refused to believe that he was back. So really, at that moment when everything was failing, that's the moment he shows up and then reveals that he's back. Really, it would have been so much better if he just stayed away. I'm staying away right now. The Ministry would have shown up. They would have seen Death Eaters and Order members fighting. And they would have been like, okay, cool, let's stop these Death Eaters, put them back in prison, we're good. But instead, they saw Voldemort and now they knew that he was back. And I'm like, why did you do that? The last negative one I'm going to mention is something that I didn't notice until this time around. Because I remember Neville's becoming more powerful in this book. But when I read it this time, we only had one line where it's like, oh yeah, Neville was the one who was grown the most. I really, really thought it would have been cool. And this is for the rest of the book is on, really. But I wish Neville had gotten more power. It would have been a really cool moment, because in this book you figure out that Neville could have been the chosen one, and Voldemort chose Harry. I really think it would have been cool to at least see Neville turn his life around, and now he's actually a pretty powerful wizard. That would have been fun. But they didn't do that, and so, okay. Now onto the positives, because this, again, is my favorite book, and despite its faults, I like the book. The big reason that actually causes me to really like this book is honestly because it takes its time. All the rest of the books felt like they had to rush things, and this one just said, nope, let's spend a couple chapters just at the Black House, just hanging out, cleaning, life, that's life. Let's allow life to be. Let's just do more with schoolwork. Just have some more with the owls are coming up, so they have to do those. There's all those different schoolwork having to happen. It felt more like this was a book about a school than the other ones. The other ones felt like there was schoolwork happening, but it was pushed aside for these adventures. And this one was really yeah, that's school, life at school. It had that fun aspect to it. That I'm like, I do like this. I also love it as a 200,000 word book. As someone who's writing a book right now and worried too much because I'm at around 30,000 words and I'm probably a quarter way through or something, this idea that it has to be under 100,000 just freaks me out right now, because I don't know how I'm going to deal with my book. So knowing that there are books out there who are allowed to be more than that and people read them, it's a really big comfort to me. The next positive would of course be that this book, halfway through the book, Harry gets expended for life from Quidditch. And I wish they kept it that way, but I was so happy that halfway through the book, Quidditch just disappeared. You had a Quidditch match going on in the background that Harry couldn't be at.
Yes! 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 Yes!
The next one would be Dumbledore's Army. I love it how it gave the chance for other characters to grow. You see Hermione shine. We already have seen that before, but you really see Neville shine out a little bit. you have this new character, Luna, shine out a little bit, and you have Ginny, like, shine out. And, like, you have all these different characters who just, well, side characters, really show that Harry's not the only one who can do magic. These other people can do magic, and they're good at it. The next one is on the topic of Neville, would be, we get to meet his parents. In the last book, we got to hear about his parents and what happened to them and how they were, you know, tortured into insanity. But this time you actually meet them and you get to see the tragedy of that happening to them. The next one would be, I really love the scene where Harry figures out the first memories of Snape, and the scene is the first book that really shows the cracks in Snape. Like, you have hints that Dumbledore trusts him, you don't understand why, and this is the first time you're like, hey, he's not the bully all the time. He was once being bullied. And I thought that was really cool to see those hints that later on in the series you actually finally see what happened. And Snape is still not a good guy, but I love it how it got to show that he was human. The next one, and the second to last, would be that of, I love it how they emphasize, and this is something you're going to hear in my later reviews too, I love it how you have it so Voldemort chose a half-blood. I love it how he chose someone like himself. He chose someone who had a Muggle parent. He chose not Neville, a full-blood, like, powerful wizard on both sides of his family. He chose someone who had a Muggle mom. You know, they were, like, powerful wizards, but he chose someone like himself. And I think it's a big thing that a lot of Potterheads probably may have not realized. There are definitely Potterheads who have figured this out, but that Voldemort really isn't that big on blood purity. He says he's big on that so he can have his followers. But really, to him, he chose Harry because he actually sees that people who are not full-blood wizards can actually be just as powerful. And that's why he chose him. And it's a moment of seeing that what his followers believe versus what he believes is different. And I think that's something that really we don't get to really spend too much time. We get time on the books, but I think it would have been cool to see more of just how different he is from his followers and how he's manipulating them into thinking he's on their side when he's really just about himself. And the last one I want to mention is the end with the Dursleys and how Vernon Dursley gets threatened by the Order. And it's like this moment of, you know, he has to face that what he did to Harry was a problem. And also that the wizarding world is around him and he can't do anything about them. And they will come for him if he doesn't watch out. So basically, to sum it up, why is it my favorite? Simply because it spends more time. It's able to grow other characters outside of Harry. It's able to really just be a book about school. It's darker. It's the perfect setup book. The next book is really where you get to dive into more of Voldemort's past and all this different stuff, and I love that too. But I love this book with it allowed itself to take its time to just be a book. It felt more alive than other books. It also might help that I was on the same age as Harry when I read the books, so thus that's probably why I liked it more. So anyways, let me know what's your thoughts. Where would you rank this one? I think a really interesting thing about this book would be the fact that for those who know the channel, Movie Flame, he has the exact opposite opinion. And I found that really interesting because I'm like, I follow that channel. And when I first figured out that he had the exact opposite, I'm like, it's really interesting. I'm like, I love that channel, but yeah, he's the exact opposite of me. His least favorite book is, this one, and his favorite movie is this one. Just wanted to quickly mention that because I thought that was an interesting thing. But yeah, tell me your thoughts. How would you rate this one on the list? Thank you guys for watching. Peter Way, signing off.